could when I was small, and it's so picturesque. Looking through the crystal ball, can you picture this?
Ciao and welcome to Gio's Paintbrush, where 5 minutes is all it takes to be blown away by one of the world's greatest artists. In today's show, we'll explore a wonderful and unique public sculpture, unknown beyond the resilient and beautiful region that inspired it, crafted lovingly by a little-known artist whose ability to communicate human energy and excitement, the anticipation of action, to literally breathe life into bronze, capturing a proud moment in the history of his people. Well, it mesmerized me as Dana and I strolled along the River Inn last July in charming Innsbruck, Austria. This striking 1904 work by the Austrian sculptor and painter Christian Plattner, born 1869, died 1921, is an action portrait of two Tirolean rebels, not professional soldiers, but citizen militia, peasants, in the spring of 1809, keeping anxious watch over Bavarian invaders, who were working in concert with Napoleon in the attempt to subdue the proud, stubborn Tyrolese. This work is pregnant with emotion, with vigor, with spirit, suggesting our will to preserve our local customs and traditions, our histories, our ways of life, the essential elements of our identities. They run deeper and endure longer than arbitrary, fleeting national boundaries. And sometimes, even when superior military forces emerge victorious and subdue a proud land, there are some things, lasting, meaningful, beautiful, but intangible things that are impossible to destroy, even with all of the armies of the world. I would like to thank Sabina Schenak of Innsbruck at the Hotel Weißes Kreuz for helping me research this sculpture entitled Anno 9. Sabina, in response to an email I sent her, took it upon herself to visit the Innsbruck City Archive to research this piece for me, and she provided a local perspective in addition to sharing her findings. Without her, this episode would not be possible. I am also grateful to Matthias Koenig at the University of Innsbruck for his assistance. On to Gio's Paintbrush, episode 46, Plattner's Anno 9. Thanks for joining us. The Tyrol is an historic and unique cultural region along the Alps that, as a result of Austria-Hungary's defeat in World War I, crosses international boundaries and the Alps themselves, with an Austrian Tyrol and an Italian Tyrol, where German continues to be the predominant language, despite even Mussolini's attempts to change that. The cities, villages, and farms of the Tyrol sit comfortably in lush green valleys, while rugged, snow-capped Alps, towering above the rooflines, seem to linger lovingly over all, the way a mother might linger over a small child who's just drifted off to sleep. It's one of the most beautiful regions in the world. Last summer, Dana and I visited Innsbruck, Austria, one of the Tyrol's most famous cities, and enjoyed a stay at the Gasthof Weißes Kreuz, or the Hotel White Cross, a large alpine inn located on Innsbruck's main pedestrian street, Herzog Friedrichstrasse. Granted its license as an inn in 1465. Yes, this hotel dates from the 15th century, almost 30 years before Columbus set sail across the Atlantic for the Orient. The Gasthof Weißes Kreuz has, for centuries, been a haven for travelers journeying over the Alps, heading toward or away from what today is Italy. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and his father slept at the Weißes Kreuz en route to Italy from December 14th to the 19th, 1769, a detail that adds even more character to an already rich and historic inn. The hotel also housed Andreas Hofer in the spring of 1809. Hofer was the most famous leader of the Tirolean peasant rebellion against Napoleon and his Bavarian allies that inspired Plattner in 1904 to create Anno 9. According to the hotel, the name the White Cross, original to 1465, symbolized the kind welcome the Knights of the Maltese Order gave to pilgrims en route to visit the Holy Land, and I can assure you that the hospitality shown today to hotel guests is as warm and inviting as ever. After checking in the Weißes Kreuz, Dana and I ascended 7,000 feet via a series of cable cars to take in the breathtaking view of the Karwendel Alps, beyond which lies Germany. The views are spectacular, and even though other visitors were generally only a few yards away from us, these mountains continue to inspire awe and reflection in a sort of reverent silence, with all speaking only in quiet tones, intimately with their travel partners, as if sharing one of those restful and pensive spiritual moments one often experiences in Europe's great medieval cathedrals. Afterwards, we returned to town and spent a few hours wandering Innsbruck, shopping and strolling the old center. Not far from the Weisseskreuz, right there along the river inn at the inn bridge, we encountered Plattner's captivating sculpture. What first caught my attention, what I just could not stop looking at, were the facial expressions on the two men depicted gazing across the river inn and up Berg Isel, a 2,400 feet tall mountain that today features a famous ski jump. The intensity of their fixed gaze, combined with their pose, crouched down, leaning toward the river and up Berg Isel, ears out, attuned to the slightest sound, limbs poised for sudden movement, and the fascinating way in which these two freedom-fighting peasants come together, nearly cheek to cheek, in order to see and hear as one. I may never have heard of Christian Plattner, and I suspect that nearly all viewers of this show have never heard of Christian Plattner. But I know what I like, and the vitality and energy, the human force of this sculpture captured my imagination. And all of this without having the slightest idea who the two men were or what they were looking at. So what's the history behind Anno 9? Well, Plattner, a native of Imst, a village located about 50 miles west of Innsbruck, planned a series of sculptures honoring and memorializing Joseph Speckbacher and his Tirolean militiamen, who opposed occupation of the Tyrol by Napoleon and the Bavarians in the early 19th century, the Bavarians being close allies of the French in their war against the Austrian Empire. Speckbacher, born to a peasant family near Hall, was one of Andreas Hofer's leading lieutenants, a local hero who became so well known as a freedom fighter that he was honored by Austrian Emperor Franz Joseph in Vienna, and ultimately entombed at the court church of Innsbruck in a place of honor at the emperor's command. Under the leadership of Hofer, Speckbacher, and others, the Tyrolese citizenry, on April 12, 1809, thus the title of this work, Year 9, liberated their region from the French and Bavarians in the First Battle of Berg Isel. And while this famed land was to change hands quickly in the battles to come, with the French taking and holding the Tyrol, the spirit of that initial liberation endured, and continues to do so today. Eventually, the Tyrol was restored to Austria in 1814, and then, in the wake of World War I, split into two, partially in modern-day Italy and partially in a new, much downsized post-war Austria. Back in the early 20th century now, Plattner, unfortunately, was unable to secure funding for the series of sculptures he designed, celebrating Speckbacher and his brave peasant rebels. But he did manage to cast this piece, depicting two anonymous militiamen on watch shortly before the First Battle of Berg Isel, April 12, 1809, a glorious event for the proud Tyrolese. The work was placed in its present location, along the river facing Berg Isel, in 1914. To this day, many in Innsbruck mistakenly assume that Speckbacher himself and his son are the subjects of the sculpture. I can't help but wonder what other powerful, revealing moments Plattner may have brought to life for future generations of Tyrolese and visitors to the region, had he been able to complete his ambitious plans for an entire series of sculptures of this caliber. But this little-known historical sculpture of Plattner's goes well beyond the Tyrol and its history, and transcends its unique time and place, as all great art must. While experiencing Anno 9 in person inspires anticipation, adrenaline, energy, and a fervent curiosity, all of which drove me to find out about this piece in spite of the difficulties I encountered in doing so. Upon reflection, and beyond the vitality of the moment depicted, beyond the heightened, almost exhilarated state of being these subjects possess, Anno 9 suggests to me that human beings are most alive, most invigorated, when we are engaged in action for a cause in which we believe, with courage and resolution, motivated by a commitment to something larger than our own needs, more valuable than our own lives, and connected to our past, present, and future. To the people of the Tyrol, this sculpture captures the enduring spirit of their culture and their determination to preserve it no matter which way the winds of history blow. But this determination to preserve our unique cultural identities, the histories that give us meaning and purpose and faith and joy, is a universal aspect of what it means to be human, and can be found in independent-minded Catalonia in northeast Spain, in the Irish Republic, in Sicily, in the Cotswolds Hills of England, in Santa Cruz, New Mexico, Iraqi Kurdistan, French-Canadian Quebec, Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, and Danba, China. And in an era in which globalization and new technologies, for all of their benefits, and international corporate interests threaten the originality and uniqueness of our planet's diverse cultural heritage, art that movingly reminds us of the importance of our regional identities is more relevant, more timely than ever. I think Plattner understood that Anno 9 and the peasant rebellion that inspired it spoke to something universal in our spirit, something vital, that needs to be remembered by succeeding generations. In the end, the diversity of our cultural heritage is not a challenge to be subdued, but an aspect of our humanity to be cherished, protected, and celebrated. The more I think on it, it seems to me that these two Tirolean peasants, peering across the River Inn, standing watch even tonight, are no longer sentinels ready to warn the Tyrol of advancing Bavarian and French soldiers. Instead, they're keeping watch for us all. Grazie mille e ciao.
I can picture it like I could when I was small, and it's so picturesque looking through the crystal